Interesting presentation. What was the common theme? Is there a billionaire gene? Are you suggesting that everyone who's an entrepreneur who isn't a billionaire could become a billionaire?
No, I don't suggest everyone can become a billionaire. Maybe you were misguided by what Jack Canfield said, but I think you can increase the probability. I stress the other side of the equation. There are certain things that you need to have in order to at least have the chance or the mental capacity to become such a performer on that level. There are 3 success levels in this book. They are, I call them drifters, so people who are generally unsuccessful in business. But it's generally about entrepreneurs, right? So drifters, people who just don't know what they want or what they want to get, and then of course they also don't know what they need to do in order to get there. Then we have the millionaires. Millionaires are, let's say, the averagely successful people. This is what all the millionaire books were about until now. So I would say an average success in business, right? This is not the best business performance. Most, like in the States, 1 in 20 people is a millionaire in business. And then I have the billionaire levels, so the best performance in business. And they are things, and you will learn them when you read that book, and I may maybe name one of them here, that make you averagely successful, make you a millionaire, but then stop you on some level because this won't let you scale like endlessly or to these outrageous dimensions. I will tell you this little story. There was a friend was telling me that he was making like $500,000 a year, like several years ago. For like average people or for the, let's say, most people, this is considered a success, and he is definitely a millionaire in terms of net worth. Right? He has been doing that for several years. He's a millionaire. He has been making $500,000 profit a year. But you have to realize that he would have need to be born before Jesus Christ in order to become a billionaire with that business performance. So this is the difference, right? What we are talking about. One of the things that differentiates the millionaires from the billionaires is the motivation. Millionaires very often are motivated by personal luxury. They do business because they want to experience luxury, right? They earn money or make money because they want to spend money. And this motivation doesn't let you grow your business to that level that you can become a billionaire. I mean, a billionaire in the terms of the worth, like purchasing power of the dollar in our times. Of course, you know, if dollar inflates in that speed, maybe in 50 years we will all be billionaires here, right? But we are talking about today. Why is it like this? This motivation, roughly at the level of 25 million right now, dollars, you have maxed out your personal life. You can't improve the luxury in your personal life, or every improvement in your personal life, if you do more or you have more than $25 million in net worth, you don't see the difference in your personal life. And the effort you need to take to do that is just not comparable, or it doesn't justify what you get for that, the increase of your comfort, of your personal luxury. That means that people that are motivated, that have this motivation, they very well can become, let's say, millionaires, let's say moderately wealthy, but as soon as they reach that level, they lose the motivation to grow their businesses. Even they may even lose completely the motivation, and even the business can go bankrupt altogether. But billionaires, they have different motivations. Some of them may have started with that motivation, but to become a billionaire, you need a different motivation. And I have identified 10 billionaire motivations in that book that I write about. So this is just one of the elements that differentiates millionaires from billionaires. So they are things that make you like successful in business, moderately successful, but then stop you on some level. And there are many things that you need to adopt in order to be able to perform on that level, or maybe that you need also to realize, right? Things like you have to pay the price. Everything has a price. You can't, become successful in business in a coffee break, right? as an example. So there are many things like that in the book. I hope I answered that question. By the way, Lirio Parisotto told me, you can become successful, more or less, if I remember it correctly, the quote is in the book. Doctor, no, you said, yeah, with the doctor also, I will say it also. Because he apparently studied medicine, and he is a doctor of medicine, and somebody asks him, how can you become a billionaire being a doctor? So the answer is, you can become it by stopping being a doctor.
Thank you for putting this together, and I look forward to reading it. But my question is, in regards to meeting these folks, I think you probably have a gold medal in actually reaching out to hard to find, hard to contact people. And you could probably write a whole book about, or your assistant could write
this
a
is
book
what
about
I tend to do sometimes.
But right? I'm really curious if you have insight, other than persistence, because you can be persistent for your whole life and not contact these folks. Do you have any insights on how to reach really difficult to find people?
The best answer I can give to that, this is apparently not the part of this book, but this is an extra that I will give, extra value that I will give to you, is you have to provide value. You can't pay a billionaire with money. I was asked many times, do you pay those people for your interviews? And the answer is no. And I explained it to you why. Let's take Bill Gates. On average, if you look at the speed of how his wealth grows, he makes 50 million a day. So his hour costs you 2 million. If you want to have a 2-hour interview with Bill Gates, you would need to pay him 4 million for a 2-hour interview. This is unrealistic. Nobody would do that. So you can't pay a billionaire with money. You have to provide value. And you have to find out what the value is for somebody, right? When you write a book, certainly like being proud to be part of that book or of that project is some currency you can pay with, things like that, right? And this is actually in business, in every business, and this is what I like about business in comparison. We were talking about state, about nations and so on, about these organizational structures, about taxes, with Stefania yesterday, and this is what I love about business. Business is always voluntary. So you exchange values, or you exchange value with people, and this value is doesn't always need to be defined in a monetary terms, right? There are different ways of exchanging value, and this is part of how you do business. And I am a businessman myself. I improved or wanted to improve my business skills apparently through that book, and I actually did. And this is another thing that I may brag about. I have implemented these principles in my company roughly 1 year ago, because at that point I have defined the $1 billion secret. So the $1 billion secret are the 20 principles. But I have been traveling since then, most of the time, like 60% of the time for the project. And so I implemented just the soft factors. Factors like, how do we think about ourselves? How do we think about the customer? How do we communicate with ourselves? How do we approach problems? These billionaire principles. And this is a multi-million-dollar company. And since then, in a period of 1 year, I doubled the revenue and more than tripled the profit of my company. And doing that by only like 40% of my time. So apparently it works. I'm looking forward, to implement all the principles, and especially also the principles from the next book, when I will be writing about the $1 billion strategies. So what to do. Here in that book, you have how you need to be, or who you need to be in order to be able to perform on that level. And then the next book, what you need to do. And but I know what you thought now, that the second one will be the really interesting one. But no, this is what I was thinking at the beginning, that when you do the right thing or the right things, then you will be successful. But it's just not enough. You have to be at first the right person to do that. one of the billionaires in my book, Mohed Altred, he became, this was on the slide, the World Entrepreneur of the Year 2015. Extremely inspiring personality. I could talk about him for hours here, about his story. You wouldn't like to start in his conditions, how he started and what he's experienced in his life. He brought a comparison with cars. Imagine you are a Volkswagen and would like to compete with Porsche or, drive at that speed. You are just not constructed to that speed. You are not able to do that. You will fall apart. Maybe for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you will manage, but then you just need to be constructed in a certain way. You have to have this mental construction, and in my eyes, a lot of these things you can learn. Actually, you can learn by experience. Sometimes it is painful experience. It is you have to go through many maybe failures, maybe setbacks. If you don't have it already, you can learn it through your way. If you try to do things, if you accept and when you are willing to fail, that things that you do may not work out. This is how you approach that level, right? Next question.
Good to see. Good to see you reaching that pivotal moment, that milestone. Congratulations to your
Thanks.
course throughout the year. So just to lighten up the discussion a bit and taking it on a different turn perhaps, that your list is very male dominated.
Right.
Yeah. So my question is it true that behind every great man is a great woman?
Absolutely. This is also
What are the sacrifices, perhaps, that you've seen as a common denominator? Mm-hmm. Maybe also for the floor.
Okay, so maybe some of our role models wants to answer the question. Jack, many? I mean, I can introduce and then you can expand on that. Generally, what I noticed, and this is also the difference between the real people we have here and, let's say, the flashy images you see on the media. Billionaires mostly, in my book, most of them, they have really traditional families, really, I would say, boring private life. And this is an advantage in business. So they are not like, the people you see like scandals on TV. They have their partners hold their backs, and that's where they can focus on business, right? And it happens to a degree where Jack Cohen, for example, he said to me, I have this yacht, the billionaire yacht, not because I want to, this is because my wife told me I need a hobby because everything I do is just business, right? So he bought a billionaire yacht to have a hobby, and as you may expect, he turned it into business as well. Jack, do you want to expand on the topic?
I have two expressions. One is, if you look at your family, you have to be good to your children because they're going to be the ones checking you into the nursing home. And with a wife or a partner, if you happen to be a female and if you're in business for yourself and your husband, I think you need a partner who is prepared to accept the fact that you are working long hours and doing things not because you don't love them or because you'd rather be doing something else, but you are trying to achieve something. And I think you need someone as a partner when you're in a business or that is taking a lot of time and energy, who has some degree of independence to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and run their own lives and not be a clinging vine depending on it's 5 after 5. You told me you'd be here at 5, and so I think you need a partner who's prepared to accept that there are demands on your life and begin to be successful in any business. Things change. You get get tired, you get cranky, you know, there are lots of pressures that come on in life. And you have to have someone that's going to work with you and accept the fact that everything isn't perfect, but it's not an assessment of the relationship, and that the relationship is stronger than just the kind of the momentary thing. Maybe I should turn over to you, Sharon, and you can tell the truth then.
Actually, I really had no idea what my life would be like. And I met Jack at university, and we both just loved meeting people. And the idea of moving to Australia from Canada, it was easy. I wanted adventure as well. And I guess we have divided our responsibilities. We've got 4 children. I've tended to look after the 4 kids and go to Jack only a few times when there's real crises, but try to make it less stressful for Jack, the problems with the family. And I have my own life, but the thing is that really I have to be available for him too. It's not that easy sometimes to wonder when he's going to ask me to do something. Because now that the world is 24 hours a day, he works at home a lot, and I know how to use the computer, and he doesn't. You know, that kind of thing. So there are responsibilities that come with it. But boy, I wouldn't trade my life for anything. It's good.
Okay. I hope you will allow me, Sharon, to tell you this little anecdote, because you were also asking about the price you have to pay, right? We went out. I invited Jack and Sharon to a restaurant in Sydney once. And we were sitting there. There were a lot of young people, around 20, 30 maybe. And Sharon looked around and told me she was surprised there were so many young people, because she said we never had time and money, or I don't know about money, but we never had time. We never allowed ourselves to just go out and spend time like this. Like these young people do. So these are exactly exactly the price you have to pay, right? To put in your time, maybe to the sacrifice of your social life, and also Ayla is today is visiting from Turkey. Personal executive assistant of Mr. Özin, and Mr. Özin told me, you know, I'm sometimes envious of my friends who send me pictures from, I don't know, salmon fishing in Alaska, from that. They have holidays, they spend a lot of time on leisure. I don't have time for that. My priority is to invest that time in creating something, and Mr. Özin created a university. So he is among the likes of, let's say, Carnegie and Rockefeller, right? Philanthropies on that scale.
So, Rafael, just kind of a final comment. I don't think in my life that I've ever looked on anything as a sacrifice. And I have an expression, this may be in the book, I'm not sure, because you and I spent a lot of time talking. But to me, at the end of the day, I have an expression, when you can't tell the difference between work and play, you're in the right place.
Right.
And and life and work is, you have to enjoy what you do. If you do not enjoy what you do, you should quit and get out and do something else. Because life's too short to be, the great majority of people are in there because they have to pay the school fees, the rent, the mortgage, and everything else. And for those of us that have been lucky enough to be able to end up in a work that we really enjoy and have fun doing it. Going to work every day is not a task or a sacrifice. It's an enjoyable experience and stimulating, and that's why you do it.
Right. So thanks for this, for this remark. And also something that you stress very often, and for those of you who are not in business, ask yourself if you are not affected by so-called golden cage, meaning Jack once gave an address to students, because he's also a dean of London University in Canada, or Western Canada, telling about about his life experiences, and one of the messages is avoid the golden cage. He said, you are in a big disadvantage to his MBA class, because when you are done, when you have your degree, you will get a job offer for $150,000. And when I was done with my degree, when I have my degree, I was hoping to get a job offer for $6,000. It's a disadvantage for you, because you will probably go for that offer and start buy a house, get a mortgage, subscribe to a golf club, send your children to private schools, develop a lifestyle, and then you are trapped in this golden cage, because there is just too much to lose for you, and you will never make this step to become an entrepreneur. And in his case, he didn't have anything to lose. He just had everything to win, right? So ask yourself, are you in the golden cage already? And how do you get rid of that? If you want to actually, because if you want to go into business and create, of course, a company, of course you can create value and develop a lot as an employee, but you definitely doesn't have that freedom to decide about every creation you do, right? Maybe some question to the Museum of Entrepreneurship. Huh?
No, I was actually wondering what was the selection process of
Yeah, exactly. Good question. Thank you.
Book. Yeah, because you mentioned about the ethics, and I was wondering if there was something beyond that.
Absolutely. There were several criteria we were going. The hard criterion that I was talking about, of course, is the net worth of $1 billion. I mean, you need such a hard criterion. I'm a mathematician, so you need to have to decide what is level of success and how do you measure that. So this is one criterion. The other criterion, all of the people here are self-made. So I actually met and interviewed 30 people, 30 billionaires, but not all of them were self-made. And the difference between, of course, self-made and not self-made people is that in order to do it from zero to billions, you have this is the real entrepreneurship. You have to create something from start, from zero, and grow it and develop it and scale it. People who have inherited, it doesn't mean they are not able or not good businessmen, but they didn't have this necessity to start anything, to actually start with zero, with no means, and to develop that. They just grew the wealth of the family, or they stayed with the wealth, or maybe diminished the wealth. So this is just completely different set of skills and maybe of personality characteristics that I wasn't interested in. I was interested in that from zero, of the self-made people. So real entrepreneurship for me. Then we have the next criteria was, of course, role model ability, I would call it this way. It means that the people preserved their personal integrity and never put in doubt their personal integrity, never gave up that integrity. And you are dealing with billions of dollars, with great money, and that money wasn't able to grab these people. And this is also the difference between entrepreneurs and maybe, let's say, politicians, or like people who just don't create that money. They just handle the money of other people, and they have just other attitude towards money and moralities. And there is actually a chapter in that book that is called "Live with Integrity," and it shows that not only it is possible to become a billionaire while preserving integrity, it is actually on a long term in business necessary. And Manny-Stool is a good example for that. Manny-Stool told me, the first thing he learned in business is to never lie to his customer. And we are not talking about cheating the customer. We are talking about lying the customer to, for example, if this or other item is available on your stock. Right? Of course, if you are a salesperson, you want to sell as much as possible, and there is this tendency of promising too much, or maybe not revealing the full truth about your stocks, about, for example, the terms of delivery. When are you going? When can you deliver that? Right? So you want to make the sale. But what Menestool learned, and this is vital for the sustainability of your business, is that you can't lie to the customer, even if you have the best customer CRM system that you can, write down everything you told him, whatever. This will never eliminate that at some point you will get caught. And at that point, you will lose the trust of your customer, and business is about trust. One of the billionaires, Naveen Jain, told me, in business it doesn't matter who you know, and it doesn't even matter who likes you. What matters in business is who trusts you, because only when trust is there, you can trade, you can make transaction, but also develop a long-term relationship. And once somebody have caught you lying, of course he can forgive whatever, but it will be always in his head, back in his head. It will never be the same again, and it will be always different than he was assuming you would be always telling the truth, that he could trust. It will be, if you say something, it will be like this. It is truth. So this is the what I write about the chapter about the integrity, and of course it was quite difficult in some areas of the world to find the right models for that, the right role models, because they are people on different levels of integrity in every way of business. But for the sustainability, you need that level of personal integrity. And for example, in Eastern Europe or in China, there is a saying that you have to steal your first million, right? And people assume if somebody is rich, he has stolen his money from somebody, or maybe he somehow participated in shady privatizations, maybe he has contacts with politicians, there are some corrupted deals, whatever. So in some countries it was difficult, but for example, in Russia I found, or the participant from Russia is the most respected, most internationally respected Russian entrepreneur, Mr. Galitsky, who built from zero a supermarket chain. It's called Magnet. This is the largest supermarket chain in Russia. They have 17,000 supermarkets, and you can't imagine the scale of that enterprise. I mean, 17,000 supermarkets. Imagine what you need to build or to open just one supermarket. You need, to have to find the land, negotiate the buy, then to build actually the plan to build, to get all the permissions to build it, and then to sell, I don't know, meat, maybe alcohol. Then you have to organize the logistics, the systems. Then you need to hire people, to train people. Then you have to supply actually the goods to the market, do the marketing, then open the market. Okay, so this process takes maybe 5 months, maybe a year, maybe 1.5 years. I don't know exactly how long it takes. But at the time when I was interviewing him, they were opening each and every day 5 new supermarkets, and huge like a football field, 5 every day. When you look at what is needed for that and how long it takes, it means that they have in pipeline like hundreds or even thousands of supermarkets at the same time. So this is the level of performance you need. And by the way, coming back to integrity, sorry for derailing so far. Coming back to integrity, I just wanted to test if this is really true that in Russia, and he is not connected to Kremlin, didn't participate in any shady privatization, doesn't have anything to do with natural resources. I was asking people on the street about Mr. Galitsky, because people at least in Eastern Europe, they are quite envious of wealthy people, and usually they don't have positive opinion about them. But I was asking normal people on the street about Sergei Galitsky, and they told me, if anybody deserves in Russia, if anybody deserves his wealth in Russia, this is this guy. So it is apparently possible, and so this is one of the criteria. And the last criteria is they also have vast philanthropic activities. So it is not about giving to charity on some charity ball that you come, get some drinks and give some money. No, this is about building their own organizations, philanthropic organizations that pursue their causes that they think are important in the world. For example, Chotak Wong, he is also a World Entrepreneur of the Year, I guess 2004. He was on the list. Also, extremely inspiring guy who at the age of 14 was illiterate. He was illiterate. He was kicked out of school in 4th grade, had an alcohol problem, and he was kicked out from school for peeing on his school director's head. So he was a rowdy and alcoholic youth and illiterate, because in China, after 4 years of school, you are basically illiterate. They have 50,000 science characters in the scripture, and you need 5,000. They use them every day. So after 4 years, you are not able to write and read. So he was illiterate. Nevertheless, 50 years later, he became the best entrepreneur in the world. I could tell you the whole story, which is very inspiring. It is in the book, in the first chapter already. So, but he, for example, he spent $1 billion already on his philanthropic causes. For example, earthquake relief, housing projects for poor people. A lot of people spend for education. I have another World Entrepreneur of the Year 2009, Tony Tak Keng Tiong, who owns one of the largest, he's actually Jack's competitor, and he forwarded me to Jack. This is also something, you are in competition, but you acknowledge the performance of your competitors. And he feeds every day 180,000 students in the Philippines. So they don't have to worry about, surviving. They can focus on the school, 180,000 people. So this is the impact these people have, and you can have if you achieve that level of success in business.